Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. It's a little bit earlier than usual, but we wanted to make sure when we were in Michael's studio in Germany, we'd have lots of sunshine. It would still be daylight. About 5 years ago, I received a phone call from Michael Behrens and from Wilfred Grutens, who were in North America, and they decided to take a detour and come to Toronto to meet me, to visit the gallery. And it was a wonderful visit, and I'm delighted that I represent Michael, and I do also represent Wilfred as well. But I had long admired Michael's work, and I'm delighted that it's in the gallery. Michael began experimenting in glass going back to 2002. He's always been inspired by nature, and Michael, I should mention, is a diver. So he's particularly inspired to view nature through the water. He's smiling, so I know that that's probably a real passion and a love of his. He's intrigued with the relationship between the shape of an object and the interior of the artwork. And he really pushes the boundaries of glass. His work is distinguished by the texture on the exterior. So there's a lot happening in a Michael Behrens work of art, and there's a lot to look at and to study. So we're going to go to Michael's studio now in Dusseldorf, and he's with his partner, Suzanne. If you have any questions, please go to the Q&A button or to the chat button, and I'll try to answer some of those questions as we go through the tour. Michael is going to begin by giving us a tour of the studio, right, Michael? So
no, we are starting actually with the earlier work I've done.
Oh,
and
nice.
Afterwards, we are doing the studio tour.
See, I can't keep up with you. So
hello, everybody. Greetings from Germany. This is Suzanne, my partner, and for this day also, she's the video woman for the visual studio tour. So I'm really happy to show with your gallery. You're a very nice person, and I'm remembering the first trip to Toronto I had with Wilfried together, and we were sitting in the gallery and having a coffee. It was like in 2015, I think so. Yeah.
Yes. So it's longer than I thought.
First of all, I would like to show you some of my earlier work, and over the slides you will see I will talk a little bit further. So Daniel, just sharing the screen, yeah. So actually, like these are some images. Also, I started with abstract painting, and these images were made like not more than, some around 20 years ago. So I also had a passion for painting. You can go to the next one, Daniel. So there was lots of experimenting. This acrylic color on canvas. You can go to the next one. And while the study, I was always working as a photographer, not like today, not with a digital camera like 20 years ago, but this was really done with the film. So this was a real close up. I make an installation. You can see it on the left-hand side. It is close up from an eye, and this eye is was about 10 by 10 feet. It was a room installation for university. So besides this, I also designed and make fabrics. And this backpack is not only designed by myself, and it's also done by myself. And the images are, all images you see are also taken by myself. So this is made with a Hasselblad 6 by 6 centimeters. I think the older ones of you will know the big old cameras. You can go to the next slide, please. And I also make some furniture. This was a stool out of casted aluminium. And when you see a little bit the shape of the stool and the shape of the backpack, when you go to the next image, please, you can see that the inspiration from nature starts. Actually, this were, if you see the legs of the table, this were the first custom shaped legs from me, and actually these are the first poured pieces out of aluminium. So I also produced the legs of the table, and it's optical window glass, and it's bended in 2 directions in the kiln. On the next close-up, you can see it a little bit better. So one bending is to the top, the other bending is going to the bottom. It's a kind of mold where the glass is not touching the mold, so everything is totally surface. The heat is just coming out of some like kind of holes which are heated up, and it's particularly on some points it's going down. So you can go to the next image, please. So while the studies, I was also working with fabrics, and this is it's a big sofa with a stool connected. You can see the size of a normal stool. It's like 2 feet, and the sofa is also like 10 feet. So then you can go to the next image. I thought the underwater would come. I forgot the lamps. Yeah, I also made some lamps, and the thin glass sheet were just partially bended over mold. And when you see the small openings, these are by purpose, but each time the bendings were a little bit different because of the mold. So I let the glass do its own job. You can go to the next one. Yes, another lamp. And now if you go to the next one. So these are the first pieces of the Underwater World series. These are dropouts. So all pieces are melted like 4 or 5 times in the kiln. And when you go to the next image, you will see the result. So if you just see the piece right now, it's looking like a blown piece, but it's bended out of a thick plate, and afterwards the top of the plate is cutted away, and then the edges are grinded and polished. And depending on the color structuring, can you go to the next image, please? The objects have another appearance. So here everybody has seen the film Find Nemo, so maybe you are remembering the colors. And now the journey of the Seaform series or the Underwater World series begin. Now you will see some images of inspiration. So this was at the Rushdu Atoll at the Maldives, like 4 o'clock in the morning. We were prepared for the hammerhead shark diving because we have to go out to find some of these animals. And afterwards, like we were preparing the boats and go out. But actually, I just want to show you one of the hammerhead sharks. This was not at that morning. We went out for a week, every morning, 4 o'clock, no sharks at all. So sometimes we have luck, sometimes not. So when I was traveling at this time, we visited lots of different diving bays operated by Resort Talk, and a friend of mine was working for this company. And on the left-hand side, you can see this is a pressure chamber when divers have an accident. So there can be, it's kind of a submarine, and the divers placed into the chamber, and by putting pressed air in it, you can pretend a depth from about 250 feet or 250 feet, 200 feet. And then you are releasing the air slowly, and you're feeling well afterwards. Like the reason could be you're diving too long under the surface, you're going up too fast, you have drinking alcohol, everything. So then you can go to the next image. So I think this was also like somewhere floating, like in 50 or 100 feet depth, and a friend of mine has made some images underwater. So somewhere in the Indian Ocean. So now you will see the first images of the Underwater World series in relation to the images that I've taken. Some images I've taken by my own, some images I got from friends, some image I out of catalogs. So you can see the translation, or my translation, from the natural.
Very interesting.
inspiration to the objects. Could you go further? So the pieces are like, you see the different patterns in the piece, and depending on the placement of the glass, you see the movement. So, but the most important, I think, I will talk about a little bit more about technique later. You can go to the next image, please. But I think the most important is to show the source of inspiration and like my translation of this scene.
Your translation, for sure. Beautiful.
Yeah,
That's a gorgeous piece.
There are lots of microscope images, and I put this into the pieces. Can you go further? Yeah. This is also a kind of a floating vessel, just to give you the dimension. I think the piece is around 4 feet wide and has a thickness from like 4 inch. And the pieces are actually at this time, they are melted 2 times in the kiln, one to kiln cast the raw plate and the second time for the bending. And afterwards, everything is grinded and polished. So you can go further. Yes. So you see, like the fish you see in the core, it's really small. It's like 1 or 2 inch. So it's a really small one. So, and about while I was making these, you can go further. While I was making the underwater world, so visiting the Maldives. The Maldives have one of the biggest seaplane, was heißt denn Flotte?
Fleet.
Seaplane fleets in the world. They have over 1,000 planes going around the island. And of course, you can go by boat. You can go to the next image. But it's much nicer, like traveling with a plane. It's like I think when you go in the countryside in Canada, you have also the smaller planes, like 15 people are fitting in it, and they can land on water or on the snow. And now you can see the atolls, which are just a little bit under the surface. You see a little bit small islands. You can go further. So, and besides the underwater world series, I am decided to make the landscape wall panels. These are also made from glass. These are glass panels. You can go further. And so this is just giving you an idea of what the wall panels look like on the wall. They're a little bit like they have a client. They are holded with brackets from the wall. So it seems to be, you can go further, please, that the pieces are floating on the wall. And to achieve this, by the way, on this trip, Suzanne was, this was our first holiday. And this is the south of the Everglades. And at the bottom on the landscape, the Gulf of Mexico is starting. So I also work not only out of the planes or out of the seaplanes, I also work with Google Earth. And it's for these times, it's really easy to travel the world with Google Earth. So you can go everywhere you want. But beside, of course, afterwards I wanted to edit some images with the Everglades. This morning I was thinking about what we always prepared the presentation. So can you go further, please? So you can see a little bit closer. So also the plane was not flying so high. It's like, I don't know, maybe 500 feet, 1,000 feet from the ground. So for planes, this is not feet, yards. Sorry, yards. This is not so far. You can see a little bit. You see the corals under the water and some land in between. But mainly, what you are seeing is just under the surface. You see the reefs.
Beautiful.
Can you go further, please? So
look at the influence.
Yeah. This is also, this is like also, it's about the environment, it's about nature. It's a kind of a time frame from the moment, because the water is always working on the land. Like if you have a river, or this right now, this is a salt sea from the Australian outback, and depending on the months or of the week of the year, the salt sea is looking totally different. Of course, in the summer, the water totally disappeared. So can you go
So
to...
those look like bubbles on the surface, is that right? Is that what happens to the glass in those pieces?
No, if you, Daniel, could you go one step back again? So these are not bubbles. The bubbles that you are seeing are under the surface. These are kind of small pebbles under the glass.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to make some about the technique. I have like the whole kiln is made out of the kiln bed. I prepared some small pebbles, and the glass is melted partially over the pebbles. So you see the bubbles, yeah. And the glass is a little bit rough. And in between, you see the silver spots. And at this point, it's totally fire polished. And then from the back, it's silvered.
Uh-huh. Your friend Steve Lynn wrote that he loves these pieces. He's not familiar with them.
Oh yes, there were. I think he has seen it some years ago. There were at sofa, but it's. I love the pieces too.
Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, and I have this style. Yes, just Sandra. By the way, you know the blue piece which is standing at the back.
Yes.
One of your. This is one of your clients' homes. So I just want to show you what the wall pieces will look like, and you see they're really floating. And if you look closely, you have two they are just holding on the wall with 4 small stainless steel brackets. So there's not a heavy frame around it.
Very thin. I love these pieces as well.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So here it's the same. But with this piece, this is somewhere in the Pacific, a very small island, and you have this kind of a surrounding. And the surface right now, this is not made from the pebble structure. This surface on the back is made to create a kind of the moving wave. So this is made from, you have the kind of the, Flussbett. Like if you have a dried riverbed where the water has gone to protect this structure. Actually, this is a quite big piece. I think this is 7 by 3.5 feet. So, and right now we're going to a totally different theme. First, it seems to be it's marble, but actually it's black kiln casted crystal. So it's totally black crystal with overlay of several layers of gold leaf, and the source of inspiration was not so nice because the studio burned down about 9 years ago. Afterwards, you will also see some you will see the installation of the kilns, like a whole truckload is coming. You can go to the next piece, and I make just a few of them. And normally I'm working like with glass, but here I decided to work with, kind of seems to be hot black marble, but it's kiln casted black crystal, and the structure, it's for me, the story is also like the phoenix, like the rising phoenix after the fire. If you can go to the next picture, please. And even if the piece is totally black, depending on the light or the sun, you really have in this black high polished glass. You can see there in the middle it's gilded, but on the left, on the right, this is not gilded. This is just the reflection of the gilded part, and you have the it's difficult.
They're exquisite. They're very dramatic, very beautiful.
Yes. So this was just.
Is this the limit to the series that you just made, the 3 pieces?
I just make a few of this, yes.
And I think you told me the first one that you showed is a sold.
Yes, the first one sold directly, but right now because the biggest working series are still the sea forms, because when you're working with kiln casted glass, like kiln space, and actually the most limiting thing is to get the pieces polished. And that's somehow like making a kind like 35, 40 pieces a year. And I'm not able to make more. It's not possible so far. And I'm working with a big team. Like I used to have 4 people here at the studio. Now we are 3, 2 guys from the Czech Republic with grinding and polishing. But somehow, like grinding and polishing, it's a hard work. Like going to the gym for 8 hours a day. So the work is limited. But right now we will switch. And before we make the live studio tour, I will, I forgot the past project. Haha. So also in the first 10 years, I was traveling the world a bit, working as a tutor at university. Since I started with the seed form series in 2011, I stopped, but this was in actually the Dutch government, and Peter Bremers helped me. This was a project in Addis Abeba around, I've been there for 2 months in 2004 and 2011. And I was teaching there some different kiln casted glass techniques. And normally you're not using at the back for the people, this is a gas kiln. And normally I was totally not used to work with the gas kiln, but the power was falling off in Addis often, and they decided to work with the gas kiln. And I trained the company guys. You can go further for the next image to like glass cutting, also thick glass cutting, cutting with the frame, making models, and also put the African source of inspiration. Like there's lots with animal, and Ethiopia is it's related to the religion. Or also they're like what happened?
Christ.
They're mainly Christ, and so we have lots of the inspiration with animals and some pictures from the church. So we can go further. And this was another project. So I was lucky. This was just 1 or 2 years before the war in Syria. So I visited Damascus for 2 weeks. This was very interesting for me, and was a big company. And also I was teaching them based on their source of inspiration, because it's totally different. Like for instance, in the churches, it's not figurative at all. You just have abstract images on the wall, if you can go further. And I was there for 2 weeks, and it was quite an experience. Yes, this is another one. I also work as a tutor at university, at the Technical University in Darmstadt, for a year for architecture. And this was for figure shaping, and we were at the studios from the Schott company in Germany, close to Hanover. And the students are preparing their molds, and I was teaching also like the model making, working with glass, working with kiln casted glass, and working with glass if you have some inspirational works for working with it in architecture, making some surfaces for wall panels. They make some small samples. If you can go further. Oh, now we go to the process. I just have to, yes, next theme, just have to drink. So like I've said, so in the background, you see the studio building. This is like early 2013 in the winter. And my studio is in the first floor. Like the first 20 windows are mine in the first floor, but this was after rebuilding it completely for 3 months, but it burned down because one of the kilns, there was a kiln damage and the studio were caught on fire. So I decided to rebuild all kilns, and this is my, I call him Big Mama. This is the biggest one. The kiln is like 7 by 7 by 12 feet. About altogether the kiln is 3 tons, but the kiln bed is released. So all kilns you see on this 40-ton truck are going to my studio. We can go further, and there will be. So we have a kind of heavy-duty elevator, and I designed this a custom-made kiln from the Czech Republic. The same kilns like the pieces of Librensky are made in, or Ivan Mareš. Lotsky company is also working with it. I designed the kiln as big as it fits into the elevator. So you can
That's
see
a very close, very tight.
maybe you realized on the left-hand side, this is one of the Borowski son. This is
Really?
Victor Borowski, and because I needed some help, and he and one assistant was helping me this morning to get the pieces in the studio. So can you go one image further? So there you can see the dimension on the kiln. So it's a special car type kiln with about 8 or 10 inch isolation. And the what is important for the pieces, it's good to see, for the kiln casted glass, it's very important that you have a heating system from all sides. So you can see the wires from all sides. Right now the wires at the bed are open. Normally they are covered with ceramic plates. So now if you go further, you see my way of working with the source of inspiration. Now we are talking a little bit about technique. I don't want to go too deep into the technique, so the questions will come up anyway. So I design a sketch, and afterwards mainly I'm working from the outline, and I'm really working like a sculpture. I work with a polyurethane foam, depending which shape I'm gonna make. So I have a light foam and I have a heavy foam. Also, sometimes I'm using the same foam, which is also used in the car industries to make the real size models. So if you go further, so I'm working on the models like a sculpture, grinding it away, with some hand grinders, some hand tools I have in my hand right now, but also some hand builded tools. And afterwards, I make the Batuto techniques, the grinding the structure on the surface. And actually, this piece is a big orange piece you have in your gallery, Sandra.
Oh, is it?
This is the raw model before we're shaping it. You can see a little bit the narrow neck.
Yes, I see it now.
I'm working on it. So if you go, yes, if you go further, so normally, because for security, I'm wearing like the Corona mask, or even a bigger one, like the dust mask. But for the image, we decide, because you see like the rough dust is flying away, because it's looking nicer, and I'm looking a little bit weird because I'm holding my breath while grinding the piece, just making it for the image. So if you go further, so you really can see that I work like a sculpture, shaping the piece. This is one of my biggest pieces I've ever made. Like casted weight was like 480 pounds, and the mold was over a ton. So like 1,500 pounds, something like this. So you can see these are the final touches of the surface, and the Batuto, the Italians would say, like the small grinded structure, is already in the model before melting. And of course, after melting, we have to work on the Batuto again. So if you go further, here you can see like the...
There it is.
I call them, they are my family. So you can a little bit, of course, for the image, I have chosen the biggest pieces. Like, of course, right now I have more bigger ones behind me. You can see the dimension of the piece. Like on the right-hand side, it's like 8 feet. And on the left-hand side, it's like the size you have in the gallery, about 48 inch. So like, I think about 4 feet? Yes, 4 feet.
4 feet.
So if you go further, because from this shape, I have to create a fire-resistant mold. Here you see one of my assistants, and she's preparing the casting channel. Actually, this piece you have in the catalog. This is the purple piece on the last page, and actually all models burned down while the fire. So this is one of the few pieces in the catalog which survives the fire.
A pity.
So she is preparing the casting channel, and afterwards we are preparing. Yes, you can go, Daniel. Yeah, you see the piece.
Yes.
And afterwards, it's like you are casting a ceiling of a big concrete building. So we are creating a kind of plywood around it with some wireframe. And then we are pouring a mixture. I'm working with the old school Librensky-Brichtauer method. I'm just using silica powder and a special plaster, like a dental plaster. With the wireframe, that's it. This is one of my dear friends, Joe. He was helping me years ago. And actually, like if you cast a big mold like this, you have to cast it in a team with 4 or 5 people. Like one is preparing the buckets, the next one is cleaning the buckets, one is mixing the buckets, he's putting the buckets in the mold. And actually, he casted alone over 1,000 pounds of mixture. And of course, afterwards, I have several forklifts, and I have like some used truck dealers on the other side, and they borrowed me the forklift because we have to flip the mold over afterwards to fill it. If you go further. So that's, I think this would be the easiest way to explain. Left-hand side, model with casting channel.
Yes.
Right-hand side, casting mold without glass. Just to give you an idea, this is a very like an easy mold. This is mold is just made out of one part. Of course, you have molds with undercuts. They have 2 parts, 5 parts, 10 parts, or I'm working with silicon with a suspension mold, or silicon with wax. But normally I don't like to work with the wax. It has to be melted out, so I make a kind of explosion molds. And sometimes they have several pieces. We cast the piece, hit the mold, release the piece, put the mold together, and cast around with the wireframe with the mixture out of silica sand and plaster. So if we go further, you will realize this is the finished piece out of the kiln. And you're missing the part where I'm placing the glass in the mold. And you're also missing the part where I'm working on the glass. And just recently, I had a discussion with Andrew Page about all this, because he was writing a text about my work, and because maybe some artists, some kiln casters are looking. Of course, I will talk a little bit about working on the glass, but over the past 15 years, I explored some experience I have made, and this I will keep a little bit secret about it. But what I can tell you, of course, there's glass placed in the mold, different colors. I prepared a little bit on the other side, and for this piece, for the big pieces, I developed a cold overlay technique on optical glass rods, piece sheets, and this is one reason I get these color framing in the glass. Okay, you can go further. So, like this nice pieces are looking like when they come out of the kiln after, I don't know, between the normal annealing is like between 3 weeks and 3 months. So the normal pieces are between 3 weeks and 6 weeks in the kiln. First, I wanted to show you some pieces which are sitting in a mold, but actually the kiln is ready in 10 days, so I'm not able to open it. So here you can see a little bit the structure on the side. The mold is a little bit flashing. These are the stripes in the plaster, and I'm trying to get rid of the plaster and silica.
Michael, Eva has a question.
Oh, yes.
She would, sorry, let me just go back to this question. Give me 1 second. She wanted to know if you can reuse the mold.
No, you're just able to use the mold once.
Once, that's what I assumed.
So the mold is poured and then everything is broken apart.
Okay. And what is your failure rate with this technique? So
Depending on the supplier, because I have very good kilns, and depending which glass I get, normally right now I would say one piece every 2 years.
you lose one piece every 2
Maybe
years.
I lose one piece, but sometimes when I'm pushing it too hard to a limit last time, because there was a deadline, I want to get finished, and I lose one piece, but we were able to remelt it afterwards because I shorted the annealing schedule like 20%. And then I get punished from the glass and it breaks.
Okay, thank you.
So like it's kind of cleaned. You see the piece over here, and now we start grinding the structure. When you go to the next image. So this piece is very big and of course working tight to a deadline. So actually we were working with 2 persons on one piece, and you see the grinder in the hand, and she's working on the structure. Normally you should work with water, but we developed something. We make a kind of dry grinding very fast at the spots. So it's possible, if you just have to grind a little bit, you don't need water with this glass. So if you go to the next step, so after the structure is grinded, the casted channel is just grinded away. So like everything is with water, like grinding and polishing. It's a kind of hard work. And after the rough grinding, the surface is polished. You will see it on the next picture. So this is one of my dear grinders from the Czech Republic. This is Tom Kochi. He's working on this big piece with a special grinding machine. He's also working for like the big pieces from Ivan Mares, from Anne Wolf, or also sometimes from Peter Bremers. All pieces are grinding in his studio so far.
It's a very large piece, isn't it?
Yeah, this was like 400 pounds. I can show you the model. Now I see myself again. I can show you the model afterwards. Yeah, I think now we are ready to walk the studio a little bit.
Very good. Thank you, Mike.
Good.
That was very interesting to see. Let me ask you, how long does it take to make a piece from start to finish? What are you looking at?
Like sometimes I get asked from clients. So when I get asked, it takes like about 15 years to make the pieces like this. Yes. I'm able to make with all the technical background and the artistic background. But actually from start to finish, it will take between 3 and 4 months. And of course, also depending on the thickness of the piece. Some pieces have to stay 4 weeks and some have to stay 8 weeks in the kiln. And if you are washing it, you will get a kind of punishment. You will be punished from the glass and it will like, and of course, like the sketching, model making will be around a month, depending. Then mold making and drying around a month, casting, kiln casting, around a month or 2 months, and grinding and polishing.
You learn to be very patient.
No, normally you could ask my partner. I'm not the patient one at all, but working with glass, I have to learn to be patient.
Yes.
And of course, when I'm working with some smaller pieces, I'm working on several pieces at one time. Like when the piece is in the kiln and melting, I'm working on the next model. So when placing pieces in the kiln, Like, but beside here, you see there's the green one. This is the big one behind me.
Yes.
And of course, I'm just able to place one piece in the kiln. And with the smaller ones, I can place 4 or 5 at a time. So it might be a good time if Suzanne is grabbing the camera and we are switching the camera. I hope then we are. So I have to just. Now, do you hear the sound from the other camera? Sandra?
No, I hear your voice.
You hear my voice?
Yes.
And it's still okay.
A little echoey, but I think it's my voice coming back.
No, that's my one. I think that would be good. We go to the other side.
Okay.
Okay. So right
Excuse
now,
me, I'm sorry. That was me sneezing, sorry.
Just a second.
Okay, Michael?
Yes.
Okay, fine. I want to make sure I could hear you.
And just a second. I'm not hearing you. Du musst es machen, dass es läuft.
I think you're getting an echo.
Just a second, please. Susanne, du musst gucken, dass das da läuft.
Ich habe alles an.
Michael, if you mute your computer and turn off the sound, we should be able to eliminate that echo.
Okay, geh mal weiter raus. Müssen wir gucken, ob das. Is the sound okay?
Yeah, that seems fine now. Let me hear you say something else. I think we're cool.
Are you hearing me proper or not?
It's a little
Yes,
hard to hear you.
You're fine now.
Oh, okay. I was getting an echo. Go ahead.
So right now we were in the studio where I was sketching and printing out the molds. We will make the packaging. And right now I will just quick show you the building. Like Düsseldorf is an art city, and this building is like from the early 60s. An old industrial building. Right now it's mainly rented out for artists, and we have about 80 studios in the whole building, but mainly two-dimensional artists. I'm one of the few sculptors.
Are there many artists working in glass in Düsseldorf? Or
no, there are not many artists which are working with glass in Düsseldorf. Just a few. Just a few. So right now I'm showing you my model and mold making place. So here right now we are making all the dirty work. We are making the models. We are making the molds and grinding the glass. So here you can see this is rough form I'm working with. When I'm starting with it, I design the outline and then I start grinding. I have here some different grinding tools with rough sandpaper, this grinder and everything. Some tools are built on my own, grinded on my own. And afterwards, the piece is looking like this.
beautiful forms.
Yeah, this is the piece you have also in the catalog.
I thought it looked familiar. It's great to see the molds and then to see the final piece.
And then when I'm turning it. And right now here, in this corner, you see lots of different disc grinders. When we work on the glass, like this is my roughest one for grinding the surface. And here are the other ones making the batuto, and here for polishing, but mainly. Are you still
We're
there?
back.
Yes, I'm here. There you go.
Mainly all work is done in the studio in Düsseldorf, just for some final touches, polishing the surface. The pieces are sent to the Czech Republic. Here you can see I will show you. I just grab the camera for a second. Jetzt, warum kann ich das Ding nicht mehr bewegen? Was hast du mit der Kamera gemacht? Das, ja, scheiße. Here, like it's one special mold. It's like from the new Crown series. This is a silicon mold. This one is prepared to be cast next week. So just give me a second. Was hast du mit dem Ding gemacht? Das geht nicht mehr. Verdammte Scheiße. Ja, keine Ahnung, was jetzt passiert ist. So some problems with the camera. So when the piece is finished, we are casting the mold. Just right, you can see this is the, like you have seen on the images before. This is the model, and right now beside this is the mold of the same piece. I will show you some problems with the camera. I don't know what. So this is the piece. And when the piece is finished, when the mold is finished, the glass will be placed inside, but before the mold will be placed into the kiln, you have to get rid of the water. Just to give you one idea, if the mold is about 150 pounds, you have 50 pounds water. So I have a special kiln. This goes until in Fahrenheit, it would be around 200 Fahrenheit, 150 Fahrenheit, very low temperature. And in these kilns, we're putting the molds into the kiln and you can get rid of the water.
So when I look at your process,
Yes.
Michael, and all your equipment, obviously it's much more expensive for an artist who works in glass than it is for a painter. I mean,
yes,
I
that's true, because I decided when I was starting, I came to a point I wanted to make my own objects and nobody was able to make it. So I was starting slowly with getting more and more equipment, bigger equipment, but this takes about 15 years to get that far. I add some equipment every few years, depending what I'm going to need. So
I can see it's pretty complex.
Yes, yes. I don't want to get too complex. So afterwards.
No, you don't have to.
So like here's one kiln. I have two different kilns. One is for drying. This is one. This kiln is running right now for 3 weeks or 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
Here you can see, come close. Auf das Temperaturding. Here you can see right now it's 180 degrees and I have a temperature measurements in 3 different zones, and it takes about now right now it will be 9 days going down.
Mm.
And so I forgot something before showing you, because we're talking about glass. So the big pieces, these are optical glass rods, and with this glass rods will be covered with glass, but before covering it I have to cut it, or my assistants have to cut it in thousands of small pieces. You can get close. Film auf meine Hand.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a normal glass cutter. You cannot cut in your hand.
Uh-huh.
I just make a small mark. Du musst es so machen, dass man das sieht.
Mm-hmm.
One small cut. And then auf den Schnittfilm. Nicht erschrecken.
Wow.
And cut it. And this is like 2-inch thick. And if you would to try to break it, this could hold a car or two. It's because because glass is a liquid. If you know how to work with it, it's easy.
That was a great little experiment.
And the big pieces are like, depending which glass I use, I have like small pieces, flat pieces, and these pieces I develop a kind of dry overlay, a cold overlay technique. And the overlay is, I get often questions, Fill mal in die Kiste. So this is glass grain. This is original glass. I'm not working with, I'm working with color, but it's original glass. And I'm always also working on my own grain. I'm making it because this sheet is produced. This sheet is produced. And afterwards, I grind the sheet. Like you are grinding coffee. Just a second, please.
So
Nimm es
that becomes
einfach in die Hand. Just a second.
Okay.
Nimm es in die Hand.
Ja.
Du hast es nicht verstanden.
So, Will, you asked a question about the mold, and Michael only uses the mold one time. So we're just waiting for Michael to, here we come. Okay. Can you hear me, Michael?
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm just using the mold one time, yes?
And you said you grind, oh, the mold. Yes, you only use it one time. I was answering another question for someone. Yes. Now, so please go ahead.
Okay, and when I prepared all this, I'm placing the glass into the mold, and then it's melted in the kiln there, in the kiln. Just that you can see again, like this is the size of the big one.
Yes.
And inside I can place molds from 2,000 pounds, and there I can place it. They can be like 7 by 3 by 3 feet in together. So this is around 3 feet high. So are there any questions so far at this point, or shall we go?
Let's see if I have another question for you. I think that we've answered all the questions. If anyone has anything they'd like to ask, now is a good time. Any other questions? No? I have a question. Oh, well, I guess you're going to get to it. Is, you know, you've explained the exterior and the mold and how you create the shape. What about the color and the interior of the sculpture? How do you develop that pattern internally?
So for me, it's depending. Sometimes there are two processes, or it's one together. So I'm shaping the model. And when I have the model, I look at the finished model and make the sketching of the color arrangement in the piece. And when I've made the sketch, I also make the sketch into the mold. And after the sketch, I'm placing the pieces after the sketch in the mold. And of course, depending on the placement, I can put a kind of movement, and then I'm mixing the colors in the mold together, and then everything is gone into the kiln.
Okay, so Eva, does that answer your question about the use of color? And then someone else wants to know how you get the frit to stick to your glass.
Yeah, this is one of the things I'm not talking about. So
Oh, there you go.
No, it's magic. No, because normally, you know, if you make an overlay with hot glass, so the glass is so hot that the frits are sticking to the surface. But I developed the techniques that I can make it with cold glass and cold frit.
Okay.
And everything plays together in the mold.
Okay, we'll let you keep that as a secret. That's fine.
That's a little secret about it, yeah.
And Michael, Alan would like to know, some of your pieces are cast in the Czech Republic and some are cast in your studio in Germany.
No, this is wrong.
No, okay.
All pieces are casted and made in the studio in Germany. I make my own grid, I make the own molds, models, casting just for some grinding on the surface.
the pieces are sent to the Czech Republic.
Great, thank you.
So just giving you an idea. Here, this is the model. And I also create, this is just an example. This is a finished piece. The surface, so it has to be worked a little bit on the structure, and the surface has to be grinded and polished. And this is the casting channel from the back. This is released from the piece. And some of these pieces, when they are already casted, are sent to the Czech Republic.
Okay.
So
There isn't.
Janine says that she's a clay artist, and she said she's always a little bit surprised when a piece comes out of the kiln. Do you have that same experience, or do you know exactly what the finished product is going to look like when you demold?
So I'm not. So like 95%, yes, because I have the experience over the past 15 or 20 years. And I've made a lot of experiences. And of course, sometimes it's appearing a little bit other, but normally there are no so big surprises. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
So I'm going back to the other computer, and we switch the screen again. Okay.
Very good. Well, wait for it. It's quite large. How many square feet is your studio, Michael?
Oh, the studio is around, it's about 2,500 square feet.
2,500?
Yeah, I think I have 2,000. So I have 3 studios, 3 different areas. One area where the kilns are standing.
Yes.
The second area is the model and mold making.
Okay.
Grinding and polishing a little bit, but we also make the own packaging. Okay, here we have the aisle, and the other studio was the where the pieces. This is a little office where I design the pieces. Actually, here you can see this is silica sand and plaster. I got it directly from the supplier. It's like 2,000 pounds for one order. So. And we're going in the studio again.
Okay,
and
good.
Now we can, I think we will switch off this camera, and I go to my computer.
Oh. Okay, there you are. Can you hear me, Michael?
I can hear you. Here I am
Okay,
again.
very good.
So
You know,
I hope the connection was okay with the.
Yes, it was good. It's just when you walk through certain areas, because it's so large, it's just a little hard, but we could hear everything when you were talking
Okay.
about your technique. You mentioned earlier on about the catalog, and I should mention that Michael designed,
yeah.
yes, you designed it
Yes,
absolutely. Okay. He designed a very beautiful catalog for this tour and for the pieces that are available.
Yes,
Another-
you can see
Another
like,
one of your many talents.
Yeah, behind me you see a kind of small sneak preview of some pages.
Oh, very nice.
Put it on the wall like the details we were working on. And yes.
I mean, you really get lost in the detail of your work. I mean, the form, we spent a lot of time talking about the form.
Yes.
Which is, you know, unique to you, but it's the interior of the pieces that are so painterly, really. I understand all the things that influenced you, but I just find I get so drawn into what you've created in the interior.
Oh yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. So yeah, it was like I always like to work with strong color combination.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm working on the glass before putting it in the mold, I want to show the process, so you can see the movement.
Right.
Movement inside the pieces, and all pieces, also the outer shape has something to do with balance and movement and the movement inside.
Well, you've achieved that for sure. Do
Yeah.
you think we should look at some of the pieces now?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think that
there.
would be a good
Okay,
idea.
Okay, let's look, because we haven't really seen a sculpture yet, so it would be nice.
Oh, yes,
now you see,
sorry, I placed also something here on the table, but I forgot it. But we will look after that. So all images which we show right now are available at the gallery, I think, and also like 3/4, like 80% is located at the gallery so far. And
that's right.
We make a really nice catalog.
Yeah, you made a very nice catalog.
Okay,
Thank you,
well,
Michael.
I am my team and my designer and
Yes,
Janine make a very
beautiful.
nice catalog, and Daniel will send out the link afterwards, like I understand. Yeah.
Yes, he's going to send out the recording of this visit, and he'll send out the link to the catalog, definitely.
Yes. So yeah, you can see these are the pieces. So this is the optical glass with the pâté vert overlay, and depending on the placement and of the diameters and the shapes, you have different areas and different colors inside the piece. Here it's good to see the detail. If you look on the left-hand side, it's optical glass, and it shows the detail because you really can look through it, and you can see the covering of the edges with the glass powder.
And of course, this is a favorite piece of mine.
Yes, actually, like the sheet I've shown you, this is the red and orange color, because
and that was a large mold you showed in the studio that you were working on.
This was a large mold.
Yes.
This was a large mold I showed. Yeah. So I think, yeah, here you also can see these pieces are, I don't want to get too technical, but you can see also the movement of the piece. So in the past works, like also from the random shape pieces, I'm moving a little bit away from the C forms and getting more three-dimensional, more sculptural. Yes. So I can.
Sue thought the last piece looked like a claw from a crab, which is true. Yes.
Yeah, it's as I realized, depending which own passion you have, you see something different. I have a friend of mine, he's a surgeon, and he saw, oh, it's like a back of a human body with a spine. And I said, oh, I've never seen it, but if you say it's looking like a spine, yeah. Yeah.
I think we all see the pieces different. We're drawn into the different colors. I mean, you can get really deep into this piece, can't you?
Yes, yes. It is for me like a sea bridge. You see the movement and the reflection, and then you have the texture. Some people see a tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, tooth, but
What's the height of this piece, Michael? What would the scale of that piece be?
The scale, I think the height is about 70 centimeters, so it would be like 28 inch. I'm just, it's not, it's somewhere, the mold is somewhere, it's like 28 inch, I guess, yeah. Yeah. Like these are like, these are the really new pieces. They were just finished shortly before I send it to Canada by the end of the year.
Beautiful color.
Yeah. Yeah, this is some new color I'm using. Yeah.
I like that piece. Beautiful. The movement's gorgeous in that last piece.
Yes, yes. And this was a big piece I was, you see the assistant was working on.
So you were going through a tray with some glass earlier in that color, I think. when we were in the
Yes.
studio.
Yes.
There seems to be a lot more movement in the new pieces. Looks like
Yes,
you
yes.
can really,
I was trying to put more movement in the pieces, and all pieces also balance is I'm working with was heißt denn Thema?
Theme.
Balance is also a theme of the piece.
well, I can see it right away. It's very noticeable.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a short video of a number of these pieces in the gallery.
Oh yes. So thank you, Daniel, for making the video.
So,
My pleasure.
so Sue was asking, how heavy are these pieces, Michael? I know it's hard to generalize, but let's say a mid-sized piece.
So I think Sue has sent an email before. I think so. She was the
I
one.
think
or
so.
not?
Yes, she did send an email. Yes.
So the pieces she mentioned, actually, I have one, just letting you know. I will show you the model. So, of course, this piece is a little bit bigger, but this would be about 200 pounds.
Okay.
And the big orange piece Daniel has shown on the video,
Yes.
it's 48-inch high, but because of the shape, the piece is just a little bit over 100 pounds. I think
Interesting.
So. And of course, this is the smaller pieces. This is one of the, you have one. I'm just turning it.
Yes.
Like this is, if you see, this is the small pieces are. This is like 20 pounds. You can lift it up
Okay.
easily.
Okay,
Because
that's very
if you
helpful.
are of course, if you are comparing it with with blown work, this is much heavier because all pieces are solid.
So do we have any other questions? How are you doing on time, Michael? Because
So
Michael has a very important appointment.
So I have to tell you, just by yesterday, I have an appointment for my corona vaccination today in about 45 minutes. So, and I was not able to skip it to the next week because I was on a, I don't know, special list. First, I want to make the vaccine yesterday evening, but I heard something about side effects and I thought it's not a good idea if I'm giving the talk today. So I think I have a few minutes left and it would be a pleasure to talk further, but maybe then we have to switch cameras again and I can talk out of the car because we have to drive for 30 minutes and it would be a pleasure to talk about the pieces or any question you have.
Okay, well, are there any questions? Would anyone like to ask Michael anything about his work or about himself, whatever you'd like, we're open.
We have one more question. You mentioned Michael, that some of the pieces do go to the Czech Republic to be finished. Is it just that they have specialized equipment that you don't have, or what is the reason for that?
So the reason for this is that in the Czech Republic are the best grinders over the world in whole Europe. So they can really make these finish on the pieces, and they are specialized in just making these perfect surfaces of kiln glassed glass pieces, also with the size of the objects.
Okay. So if there aren't any more questions, Daniel, you can probably see them. Are there any other questions or should we let Michael go then?
That was our last question.
That's the last question. We will send everyone your catalog and the recording of the tour. And it's really been a pleasure, Michael.
Thank you very much, Sandra.
It's wonderful. Thank you you were very welcoming. And I'm excited for you that you are going to get a vaccine. Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Michael, I have one more question for you, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind. I'm on, everything is perfect.
Joanna says that she can really see the influence of the underwater world in your work. What is your favorite dive site that you've been to?
I would say my favorite dive site, because I like the small animals, was the Rashtu Atoll at the Maldives for me. So I like the Maldives and the Indian Ocean.
And you're still diving now, Michael, is that right?
No, I stopped diving a few years ago because I have problems with my ears so far. But I started free diving just a year ago.
And what does that mean?
I made my first license. So just was holding a breath, going as deep as possible.
Oh, I see.
So like right now I go until like 30, 40 feet, but you can go also, like we have different grades. You can go like from the sport side, you can easily go until 60 feet. With one breath going down, hold the breath for 1.5, 2 or 3 minutes and coming up. But we have to train this.
I was going to say that must take a lot of training to do that.
Yeah, it's mainly it's mentally to hold the breath. You don't need so much power.
So how do you think your discipline with your diving, how does that impact your work? Or does it?
So I changed a little bit also for me the source of inspiration, that I'm going a little bit more sculptural with my work. So, and I'm not diving so much anymore. So.
Okay. Well, Thank you very much. And Suzanne, thank you. Thank you for your great camera work. I know we met, it seems like a very long time ago in Murano, when there were thousands of people and we were all milling about at the conference. And I look forward to doing that again with everybody. Won't that be great? Getting
Yes,
together.
that would be great, yeah.
Yes, for sure. So good luck with your vaccine and thanks very much. And
Thank you.
stay healthy and
Yeah,
be
you
well.
too.
I look forward to seeing you soon, I hope, both of you.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, great.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye
Bye,
now.
Michael.
Thank you.
Bye.